Our next speaker is one of those important men that has done incredible things by the grace of God. He has moved mountains to help women facing unplanned and crisis pregnancies. Dr. John Bruchalski, affectionately referred to as Dr. B by everyone who knows him, is a miracle that he's here. He has undergone some open heart surgery in November. Pacemaker placement. And when I reached out to his office, they were like, he can still come. I was a little nervous, but he was gracious. He is a local man. And he's also just recently, I don't know if you timed it that way, but released a wonderful book called Two Patients that he'll be talking about. One of my earliest presentations was at the pregnancy center that he helped found called Tepeyac. So we've kind of run in the same circles, but not really had a chance to connect until now officially. But I think that you will enjoy him. He is going to talk about perinatal hospice and diagnosis and that sort of thing. And then afterwards, Sharon is going to come and share her testimony. After both of them talk, then we're going to do their question and answer time as a panel discussion. So that's why the stools are up here. And if you do decide you want to use one of them early, you are welcome to it. So come on up and share your wisdom. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you. Did you? And I don't need to turn anything on.
Okay. Nope. You're good. I'll hold that. Okay. His mic is going on.
Excuse me?
Yeah. They're going to have your mic on.
Oh, that's great.
There you go.
Thank you. It is absolutely wonderful to be here with you this morning, and that truly comes from the bottom of my heart.
If that will help there.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Putting this talk together, I considered the topic perinatal hospice the keystone in prevailing over abortion. It's transforming hearts through health care. And I just want to first off second all that Dr. David Prentice from Charlotte Lozier said before the break. The questions and the commentary I'm so grateful for. But I'm also very grateful to be with my second extended family here at Anglicans for Life and the Falls Church. Many years ago, the congregation in a basement somewhere in some hotel in Washington, D.C., prayed over me when I had recovered from a coma and I was on renal dialysis. Your communities 8-10 weeks ago got me through a complete heart block. That's when the electrical system becomes broken, and I had a heart rate of 20 beats per minute. I couldn't say goodbye to my wife. She didn't get to the hospital in time. And your prayers sustained me as the light seemed to become darkness, but then there was a light on the other side. Praise our Daddy. Absolutely. Absolutely. The people who are the living stones in both structures, Anglicans for Life and the Falls Church, are part of my personal Book of Acts living, Bible strong. They help me grow in Christ through helping me advance through opposition, advance by opposition. How, you may ask? Well, you prayed for me 10 weeks ago, as you've been doing for years. Some of my partners attend service here. These communities are intersected by, we are the body of Christ because we pray for one another and intercede for one another. Thankful for your prayers, especially yesterday, preparing for this conference, especially from Georgette and her team, who welcomed us and put this together. Yesterday morning, I was in Richmond talking about Pain Capable Act. And an outstanding member of my professional organization, the American College of OBGYN, criticized me on spreading disinformation on the Pain Capable bill in Richmond, threatening me with taking away licenses for being so deceptive and ignorant of women's health. So, perinatal hospice, however, when presented to a mom and dad who comes to our office with child. Now, I'm not the scientist, I'm a clinician. It was women like yourselves who came to me through my life and talked to me about what was going on with you. When patients say, "Man, John, you're good with PMS, you're good with menopause, you're good with both and," allopathic and homeopathic medicine, you as living books taught me. So once again, I'm grateful again to you all. This perinatal hospice, when presented to a mom and dad and family that has already been to see other doctors, some of whom are Christian, they recommended early delivery or termination or abortion immediately. I used to do that the first 2 years of my residency. Not only did I dismember through dilation and evacuations, I aborted, ended, terminated, whatever word you want to use, children who were sick in the wombs of their mother. And when Jesus came to me, perinatal hospice came with him. So with this in mind, allow me to muse about perinatal hospice for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. This is the keystone in prevailing over abortion, because my experience has shown that when we present perinatal hospice against abortion for the sick child, that dynamic, 9.9 families and mothers go, "Oh my God, I want this. Why didn't they tell me?" Well, you're going to hear, I'm really the opening act for my sister who's going to come up here afterwards. I'm just teeing it up for her, because this is about heart-to-heart communication. It's what doctors are supposed to do. Take a good history, do a good physical. One ear to the heart, one ear to the heart of God, to Jesus Christ. The heart that was lacerated on the cross for our salvation, our redemption. So, perinatal hospice is the keystone, because whenever we talk about it, they can't argue against it. And I learned yesterday, after being calumniated and attacked ad hominem, which means they attacked me as a believer, even though I presented scientific data, which is kind of, Prentice said, "Oh, by the way, faith and reason go together." Oh, yes, they do. Bible strong, science strong. So, but first, before I get into that, a first half of a story. What the heck are you doing, Bruchalski? Question mark. This gentleman barged into my hospital room. I was bald, more bald than I am now, but I was on the 3rd round of chemotherapy for stage 4 metastatic testicular cancer that had spread to my brain. I was about day 3 in the middle of my treatment. What the heck are you doing? The abortionists, by the way, covered me while I was in the hospital, our pro-life, life-affirming, faith-based medical practice. They were so kind to me during my difficult times because I was kind to them during their difficult times. Because I had done abortions, and I did many complications with those abortions, I could help them out, not in killing the baby, but in saving the life of the mother after the abortion occurred. Why? Because we're all members of the human family. There still is a flicker of light in those souls. You run towards the emergency. Good doctors, good soldiers, that gentleman, that policeman downstairs, many people in this audience, good pastors and priests and the clergy, good canon. Come on. This is what they do. They taught me how to do this. You run towards the gunfire. Hey, can I help? Sure. So, I just delivered a freaking monster of yours. No brain, anencephaly. What in God's name were you thinking? What was your patient thinking? What did you tell them? I'm so sorry. He was a second Dr. B. I forgot to warn you that this is what I do. I do perinatal hospice now, and we maximize the time that moms get a chance to spend with theirs. I'm so sorry. And I knew she was going into labor very soon, but I was stuck here, and oh, by the way, you let her go into freaking labor? Are you crazy? What do? You want to traumatize the family and me? That's malpractice, brother. That was unmerciful exposing that family to what? 3 minutes of what? The diagnosis is incompatible with life. Doesn't deserve to live. I'm sorry if I'm causing that. I'll never cover you again. So the other Dr. B, the second Dr. B, like 2 patients, 2 doctors, they're putting wedges between us, folks. Don't let the life issue put a wedge between moms and babies. We never pit moms against babies at Tepeyac, and what we're collaborating with so many good men and women across the country. He didn't even shut the door. I was like a barn. He just stormed out. I just experienced an aborted friendship at a late gestational age. Mercy leads to the gas chamber, remember. That's Flannery O'Connor, Walker Percy, Lorenzo Albacete, all great American writers. Mercy leads to the gas chamber because it was out of mercy, misplaced mercy, unmoored from truth and justice and words, that led to the gas chambers of the 1940s, and now to the abortion mills, especially in this population, the unfit. So, for my Dr. B, Mercy led recommending an abortion to his patients. And for all of us in the audience who may have had this happen to us, remember, I'm coming to you and I'm trying to be as sensitive as I can because this is me. I was that doctor. I'm no different than them. I'm no different than any one of us. We're all sinners, redeemed and saved by his grace. So, what is perinatal hospice? PH, or perinatal hospice, is a model of medical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual support for patients and doctors, both and, as Cheney and I have talked about and prayed about and sacrificed about for decades, maybe even millennia, because I do think that she and I were in the mind of God together back when the form and the formless was first made. Perinatal hospice is about choosing to continue pregnancies following a prenatal diagnosis, indicating that their babies, your babies, my babies, have a life-threatening condition and might die before or shortly after birth. My book downstairs, 2 Patients, is about another doctor who witnessed to me when I was killing one baby in one room and saving a baby in the other room because the mom wanted it and didn't want it. So, you may be familiar personally or intellectually with the language incompatible with life, despite the child on whom we make that diagnosis alive in your womb at the time of diagnosis. Think about that. Incompatible with life, yet it's kicking in your womb. When everything becomes fungible and science is feeling, faith is feeling, all of a sudden, mercy becomes something other than divine mercy. So, according to perinatalhospice.org, and that's part of a list of things that I will that I will give you after this, there are more than 300 programs worldwide and increasing, as someone told me a few days ago in Washington. This site is an excellent resource for you and I. Remember the first blessing of Perinatal Hospice. We are in this together as the human family, as a community. The Our Father is real. So the first principle of Divine Mercy Care's approach to medicine, transforming hearts through healthcare, is medicine is sacrificially relational. So we come to know our two patients in this situation and walk with them through their pain and suffering of finding out that a welcome child is so very, very sick that once the umbilical cord is cut, their life may be cut quite short. So let me be very clear here. This is not an early delivery simply to deliver early and end the suffering and pain, misplaced mercy. It's not simply a bereavement program that we have to go through when we lose somebody so close to us. I used to abort these families, and those women who abort those children also have the same deeper challenges because the mother understands what just happened, but she's in shock. And she's in absolutely abandoned shame. And why? Why, Lord? Are they really programs for life? Perinatal concerns programs? You gotta ask. Pro-life, life-affirming today is lived in many ways, comes in many flavors, and we've come face to face with the real question, how far can I follow my sick child through this life? How far can I follow the God-man on this cross? Follow me means how far? So how did Tepeyac OB/GYN in Fairfax develop perinatal hospice? Well, medically, my wife and I, we started our practice in our basement back in 1994. We just started opening up our doors to patients, and we slowly, within about a half year, got our own physical location. She was my everything. She also, before our conversions, helped me abort sick children in the wombs of their desperate and agonizing moms and families. We've been on both sides. We can't throw stones. We pull the plank out of our own eye. So once we were beloved by Jesus' mercy and love, and we encountered others who taught us about a holistic, integrated, compassionate, merciful, collaborative sense of caring for women. Abortion is part of that discussion. We began to appreciate medicine daily. From the shadow of the divine physician on the cross to the light of the divine physician exiting the tomb that Sunday morning near Skull Hill. From the shadow to the light. Abortion is always shadow. And so many of us, including myself, when I was working at a wonderful pregnancy center at night, while I was doing abortions, when I was attending an incredible First Assembly church in Norfolk, Virginia, at night on Wednesdays, but doing abortions as part of my medical training, that rift becomes real. You move from darkness to light. Second DMC foundation, medicine is indeed an act of mercy, always. So that's what we did. We contacted Dr. Byron Calhoun, another wonderful maternal fetal medicine specialist out in West Virginia. And oh, by the way, he wrote this seminal article on perinatal hospice in our medical journals. I'll give you that at the end. Dr. Marie Anderson recently retired after 20 plus years at Tepeyac. She lost her beloved daughter, Kristen, prematurely. Our Kristen Anderson Perinatal Hospice program is named in honor of both of these women. In the spirit of service and accompaniment and agape love for the other that my friend and partner, Dr. Anderson, had for her child. Now that's when we named the program. Carol and I have been doing the program for about 8 years prior. Why? Because when you find a child with a sick diagnosis and science can't quite tell you yes or no, is it going to live, is it not, it's better to err on the side of safety. So this program recognizes each minute a parent spends with their child is precious. It aims to intimately and thoroughly and competently support and provide OB care for mother, the unborn child who happens to be sick, and the family that's caring and living in that environment, which is incredibly very difficult times. Because remember, most families hear about this at the wonderful gender reveal ultrasound or the mid-pregnancy detailed ultrasound. 95% of these children are welcomed and wanted. Our goal is to carry each pregnancy to its natural fruition, your fruit of the womb. So remember, we're all image and likeness. And we will deliver in the fullness of time that the Lord has allowed in your life to be with that child. So you both can spend a lifetime together, even though the little ones may be very short. The goals of our program are, one, to provide excellent medical care for 2 patients, mom and her unborn sick child. And that takes us to the third DMC fundamental principle: hate the disease, but love the patient. You always target disease. So when we talk about in abortion conversations today, no, an ectopic pregnancy, no, we're not directly intending the death of the child. We go after the disease tube. And the child happens to be an early delivery that we can't help because we have to go after the disease. This is not semantics, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we find life in medicine because of what the word says. This is seamless support through pregnancy, delivery, postpartum, and beyond. When you come into this program, you expect to receive excellent and respectful medical care for both of you, all of you, through him, with him, and in him. From compassionate, board-certified folks, docs, excellent midwives, who recognize the value of every human life and the brutal, soulful reality of pain and agony that is suffered with an adverse prenatal diagnosis. It absolutely leads to the shadow and light of the cross, including that image of the Pietà, Jesus and his mother afterwards. Connecting families and additional supportive resources that will provide people and organizations that we have resources available of all types that can assist you. But it's not so much about the program. Remember, this is why I love Anglicans for Life, and I love the Falls Church. Why? Because it's people. It's heart to heart. It's the conversation from the book of Acts that gets you through chapter 8 and the stoning of Steve into that land of explosion, advancement through opposition. And after being threatened with my license and my character yesterday morning, I needed to be here with you. I needed to get Georgette's hug. I needed to see Cheney Mullins. I needed to be here with you all. So, the features of our program, and I'm going to end it here because I've got 4 minutes. Complementary ultrasounds, recording of your child's heartbeat, birth planning, medical support, certificate of life, the annual infant loss memorial program that we have once a year in various churches in the area of all different creeds, all different flavors, so to speak. The annual, and we provide resources, obviously, and then we get to the fourth foundation. Together as in Acts, the early church lived the body of Christ. They shared the love of Jesus with others, turning community resources and life in church, in the house, in the church, in the locations they gathered, they turned community resources to care for their own, being responsible for each other's needs, both physical and spiritual, into real communion. You can move from community to communion with this type of program, even in the world of abortion on demand. Why? Because it's experiential. I tore apart little ones. I damaged women. My heart was the size of Scrooge, a little hard acorn, and the love of Jesus and his mercy and his forgiveness. after growing up in a good family. But I was more interested in man and woman pleasing than I was in fear of the Lord. And that's what I'm seeing today. So now let's get back to the end of the story, and I have 2 minutes. So you heard the first part of the story, right? Remember? He bolts out of my room. I'll never take care of you again. You gave me a monster, just like my witness said to me the day that I aborted this, stop treating my patients as tumors. Dr. Debbie Plum, a neonatal intensive care doctor, a believer, challenged me. And oh, by the way, have a cup of coffee with me tomorrow. Okay, sure. Now, fast forward 7 years. Jenny, my nurse, knocks on my door. I'm in between patients. Hey, Dr. B, there's a Dr. B here to see you. Oh, no. We hadn't spoken. We passed each other silently in the hall. We hadn't spoken since that night in my room on my cancer ward. If you ever read Solzhenitsyn's stuff, if you ever can get through it, Cancer Ward's a great book. Hi, John. I just got back from Dubrovnik and took that picture of the city that you so fondly fell in love with. I took it from the south approach, like you said. Would you please allow me to give it to you, to thank you? I will. I do. Thanks, Dr. B. By the way, do you remember that night I visited you in your hospital room? Oh, I do. And I'm so sorry that I shut up, son. I'm sorry that I dropped the F-bomb a few times and the anger that raged at you that night. Please give me a minute to unload. I pride myself on being a caring, compassionate doctor, yes, who happened to do abortions. I'm a good surgeon, and boy, am I competent. My patients, like yours, follow you. They really love us. They love me. Before that evening, you and I were friends and colleagues, and you helped me even with your position on abortion when I needed help with the complications in my rooms that were doing the abortions. You never judged me. You came by my side and you helped save my patient's life. So after delivering that monster close to 6 pounds big, 6-pound monster, I saw in that room more love and family strong, kissing and hugging and celebrating this child's short life through the tears. All I heard at the moment of this birth of my monster was, oh, isn't my daughter so beautiful? For 3 minutes, the heart beat. There was no suffering. The child was being squeezed by the family, the hugs, the celebration. I was so upset that I was kept at the hospital for their mistakes and their ridiculousness for 3 minutes. I was wrong. There was more love in that room than in any room of my patients. And I'm ending right here. I got to get back to my office now, Johnny, but I want you to know I will never do an abortion again. But that's between me and you and your God. Wink, wink. We had a hug that was kind of like male bonding and maybe a bromance. But I really think it's the hug of the body of Christ. When Paul, Timothy, and all the foundational women hugged each other in those cities where the Lord lived, that his spirit was alive. That's what happens here at Falls Church. Maybe, just maybe, hoping against hope, maybe even akin to what Magdalene did, Samaritan woman at the well did, Zacchaeus, Matthew did, Peter did, John did. Maybe Perinatal Hospice can create a community through the power of the Holy Spirit in the presence of excellent medicine as divine mercy care. How we could care for people the least and the most, in their most deepest pains. I also know that perinatal hospice leads to the joy that C.S. Lewis talks about for me. That's what the book of Acts and this communities of Anglicans for Life in the Falls Church are here today. God bless you, and thank you for letting me talk for the last few minutes. God bless.